and welcome to Tax Matters. I am Chiamaka Ohawichi. It's feedback time. On today's episode of Tax Matters, we want to yield the floor to our viewers. We want to provide a platform for our viewers, for taxpayers, to bear their minds, to express their feelings. What are those issues that have been bothering you? What issues would you want resolved to make you more willing and more able to pay your taxes? We have labored unceasingly on this program to inform and educate the viewing public about the workings of the Tax Appeal Tribunal as adjudicators of disputes between tax authorities and taxpayers. Of course, as you already know, the Tax Appeal Tribunal was established in the year 2010 by virtue of the FRS Establishment Act 2007. Our offering today will revolve around the Stakeholders Interactive Forum hosted by the Southeast Zone of the Tax Appeal Tribunal on Wednesday, the 18th of September 2019 in Enugu, Enugu State. Theme was Challenges and Solutions in Tax Administration. And that precisely is what this is all about.
We believe that knowledge is power, and that my people perish for lack of knowledge, and that communication is very important in every human endeavor. We have called you to not to dictate to you, but to interact with you, to explain and make clarifications with respect to issues arising from taxation.
In a gesture indicative of the wide acceptance of the TAT across the land, Executive Governor of Enugu State, His Excellency Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, was represented by the Chairman of the Enugu State Board of Internal Revenue, Mr. Emeka Odo.
The TAT is a tax dispute resolution institution established by the federal government of Nigeria in 2010 as part of the reform initiative of Nigeria tax system. It was established in accordance with Section 59(1) of the Federal Revenue Service Establishment Act of 2007. The core function of the Tax Appeal Tribunal is to adjudicate on all disputes arising between taxpayers and tax authorities from the operation of the various tax laws in Nigeria. The TAT is therefore an arbiter that ensures that the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of both the taxpayer and the tax authorities are respected and enforced.
We move straight to business as we share with you the views of attendees at the Stakeholders Forum.
Just last week, I had an interaction with some private sectors, mainly Private School Owners Association of Nigeria. One of them told me that an educational institution is not a business enterprise, and that is just a social services. And that all the while, they've been having so many organization agencies. They come to them every day, harass their members, pay this tax, pay that tax. I want to ask questions on their behalf. They are worried about multiple taxes. Do we have a list of taxes to be paid to the state, to federal government, to local government?
In my case, I operate a school. I'm a school proprietor. So right there in Umuahia, one day, tax officers came to the school and captured one of the teachers to say we've been fined and to be taken to appeal court. So they rushed her to ASEPA tribunal in Umuahia. They passed judgment and asked us to pay 60,000 naira for failing to cut away some dust from somewhere in the classroom. So I dashed to the court, only to find out that she has been sentenced, except if I can cough out 60,000 naira. So my question is this: I know what goes on here in Enugu goes on in Owerri. The same thing in Umuahia, same thing in Ono, Nkwere, and so on. So if this thing happens to me, can I appeal? Can I go to the Southeast Tax Appeal Tribunal to appeal? Because it's the end of the day in Umuahia. Tax this, tax that, every now and then. Monka, onka. I like this weekend. Wonka, apulanka, wonka. So if this happens to me again, I want to know, can I appeal to this tax appeal tribunal?
When we register a new company, and probably that company have not done any business, waiting like contractors, and FIRS insists that we must pay some amount of money every month as VAT. I want to ask, is it proper, though we fill the document and return back to them, as they said, but they always insist, whether we do business or not, we must pay a certain amount of money.
I listened to His Excellency. I listened to the state's control of FIRS, as well as the chairman of Enugu State Internal Revenue Service. And in each of their statements, they did actually affirm the authority of TAT in matters of tax challenges. There are already liens in people's accounts. There are already court cases going on. How do we resolve those cases out of court? By doing the necessary things, because they've acknowledged the fact at this forum that you are the authority in terms of tax administration appeals.
I want to know if this tax tribunal also covers the state tax matters, or is it only purely on federal government tax issues?
Now to the answers. Mr. Bolaga Oshiga is the state controller of the FIRS for Enugu, Abia, and Ebonyi states.
I want to start from the first question that borders on educational institution. Educational institution can be registered in 3 ways: either limited by guarantee, or limited by shares, or business name registration. If the school is just a business name registration, the school as an organization will not be liable to any tax, but the staff working in that school will be liable to pay personal income tax to State Internal Revenue Service. If the school is limited by guarantee, that means trustees are the governing board, the staff of the school will be liable to personal income tax, but not to company income tax or VAT or education tax. But if its school is registered and limited by shares, that means it is incorporated to make profit, they will be liable to pay company income tax, education tax, but not VAT on school fees. But if the school is trading, doing other things apart from educational services, VAT will be paid on those services. There are some universities that are paying VAT because they provide services. Let me take Redeemers University, for instance, that generates electricity and sell to people around them. They pay VAT. There is a Covenant University that has a bank. They pay taxes on those commercial activities, but not on educational services. And if an educational institution should award a contract, they are bound to remove withholding tax. If it is contract awarded to a limited liability company, it will be paid to federal inland revenue. And if it is to individual, it will be paid to state internal revenue. And in respect of paying of taxes by company that has not commenced business, you only pay taxes when business has commenced. But if you apply for tax clearance certificate 6 months after incorporation, you will be expected to pay pre-operational levy, which is 20,000 for the first application. If you come again any other year, you will be expected to pay 25,000 if you have not commenced business. This POL is not paid every year. It is only paid when you apply for tax clearance certificate. The issue of additional assessment arising from bank transactions which are not reflected in the audited account. It is unfortunate many people are using their company to transact business that has nothing to do with the company. Like I've seen many occasions where children will send money to their parents and this money will be paid into their company's account. Some people will want to buy land, they will ask their friends to pay the money into their bank accounts. There is no way tax officer will know that this thing has nothing to do with your business. So additional assessment will be raised. So I will advise that any lodgement that has nothing to do with your business should not be transacted through the company's account because it will be viewed as if it is the company's income.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service FIRS calls on all corporate organizations operating in Nigeria to register for the purpose of payment of taxes and obtain a tax identification number TIN. All registered companies must obtain a tax identification number immediately from the nearest FIRS office. You can also collect and return tax registration forms from the Federal Inland Revenue Service Engagement and Enlightenment Tax Teams (FEET) on compliance checks exercise in your area. A company which is yet to commence business after at least 6 months of incorporation must pay a pre-operational levy of 20,000 naira in the first year and 25,000 naira for subsequent years to obtain its tax clearance certificate (TCC). Note that filing and payment of VAT and withholding tax returns must be done on or before the 21st day of every month. Register for VAT. File all tax returns as and at when due. Be a responsible corporate citizen of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Just to add to the comment that was made, I think it's important to get a proper theoretical background about what taxes are collected by the state and those ones that are collected by the federal government. Taxes of incorporated bodies, that is to say, companies incorporated under the Companies and Allied Matters, belong to the federal government. Taxes of individuals belong to the state government. And like you explained, those taxes may range from personal income tax, which falls into two categories: people who are employed working for others, which is payee, pay as you earn, and then those who work for themselves, which comes under direct assessment. But beyond the income tax, personal income tax, there are other taxes that pertain to individuals. Capital gains tax. If an individual sells a property and makes income, a surplus on that sale, it is chargeable under capital gains tax. And if it belongs to an individual, it goes to the state government. If it belongs to a company, it goes to federal government, in which case the appropriate or relevant tax authority is the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Now, if you go further down, with regards to local governments, most of the local government taxes are taxes of a primary nature. For example, tolls, signages, and tenement. Interestingly, tenement belongs to the local government. But in states where the State Internal Revenue Service or Internal Revenue Board has become the appropriate or relevant tax authority, it is because in such states, there is a state law which allows the State Internal Revenue Board to be the collecting body.
Somebody asked a question saying, or made a comment that the government, they don't take you to the tax appeal tribunal. by the provisions of the law relating to tax appeal tribunal, it is not only for the government to take you to the TAT. The law provides for an aggrieved person. The central phrase is an aggrieved person. That person could be a taxpayer or a government agency.
You are still onto Tax Matters, and what we are doing on this episode is to share with you the views expressed by participants at a stakeholders forum hosted by the Southeast Zone of the Tax Appeal Tribunal in Enugu State way back in September. There was more.
Tax authorities in some areas, some jurisdictions, insist that companies that have not commenced business pay tax, not necessarily because they have asked for tax clearance certificate, but for reasons not usually explained. And this brings us into collusion cause with the tax inspectors in the various FIRS offices. Here is a company that has not commenced business. They have filed a statement of affairs and they are asking for thesis. They have paid the pre-operation levy, and we are saying no, they should pay more than that, and arbitrarily you impose a certain amount on them and insist on it.
The first question I want to ask is, after the process of TAT, if they give their decision and one party feels he is not happy with the decision, which court should he go to contend the decision of TAT? Then number two is to FIRS. I understand that they have been placing lien on certain accounts that is suspected to have defaulted the payment of any of the taxes due to Federal Inland Revenue Service. But it is strange to me that they distrain even NGOs, which we think by default do not have liability to pay for any of the taxes that the state coordinator has listed even in this forum. Then number three is to FIRS as well. As a matter of practice, when you go to do your monthly VAT filing at FIRS office, you will discover that if your company is classified doing a business that is not VATable, you will have to file what we call a nil account. But when you want to perform this responsibility on monthly basis, they will demand that you must do that with your bank statement. It is compulsory to them. If you fail to come with bank statement, they will not accept that return, and you will be made to pay the liabilities that come from your non-filing, even when you have actually come to VAT.
There is this issue of saying the commencement. Companies that have not commenced business are to pay tax. The law says that if you don't have income, you don't pay tax. That is what the law says. But many a times, we have the problem of the taxpayer not telling you the truth. Or the taxpayer, if you ask for certain information to prove, truly the taxpayer has no income. Many taxpayers are not willing to make available such information. And one of the most reliable information we normally ask for is bank statements, because it's usually a third-party information and it is very reliable. And many taxpayers are not forthcoming in making available their bank statement. I know somebody raised the issue of NGO being asked to pay tax. And I want to tell him that what I talked about the church applies to NGO. If an NGO deviates from its core function of spending donor funds and deviates into generating a fund from other sources, particularly in a commercial manner, to the extent of that fund generated outside its core function will be taxed. I give you an instance. Some NGOs will go as far as getting contracts from government agencies. And when you get this contract, the government agency will be obligated to deduct withholding tax from such contracts.
And on the allegation that money is being demanded for TIN registration.
Now somebody said FRS refused to give TIN. TIN is free. I want to repeat it. TIN is free. Nobody should ask you to pay money to generate TIN for you.
In response to a question, the chairman Enugu State Board of Internal Revenue seized the opportunity of the forum to inform the public about the concerted efforts being made to widen the tax base.
That's what we call Enugu State Social Benefit Number. Very soon, before you can enjoy government services in Enugu State, you must be on our database. If you go to a government school, before your child will get registered from the next academic session, you must produce your ESBN number. And that number means you're on our database. If you're not on our database, your child will get registered in that public school. If your child is schooled in IMT, ASUT, and all these places, without that ESBN, it's not likely that the child will be admitted. If you also go to a government hospital, if you don't have an ESBN, very soon the government hospital will not treat you. A lot of other services, and it's part of the tax law, a lot of other services you get from government, you must be in the database before we can treat you. Because you cannot be existing in a space. We must be able to locate you and say, like, fine, if you are not earning enough income to be taxed, we will not tax you. But once your income is big enough, we should be able to tax you. And our database is being integrated with the national team, the tax identification number of the entire country. The entire country, under the auspices of the Joint Tax Board, just launched about 3 months ago a new tax identification number for the entire country. And that number, the team, is integrated with the database of the banks. So everybody who is an account holder in a bank is available for tax authority to draw onto. Everybody who is also registered with Nigerian Identity Management Commission, names it. That data that they're holding in their own database is available to all the tax authorities all over the country to draw on. And that entire data is being hosted in the cloud. So it is extremely, extremely secure. Nothing will happen to it. Our database is continuously being upgraded. If you register your vehicle, you enter our database. If you get your driver's license, you enter our database. If you open a bank account, you enter our database. If money is transferred to you by anybody, you enter our database. That database is massive.
Surely there is no more hiding place for the tax dodger. Tax Matters spoke to the chairman of the Southeast Zone of the TAT on matters arising.
The idea is enlightenment, education, to let the people know what the Tax Appeal Tribunal is all about. Considering that for between June 2016 and November 2018, the Tax Appeal Tribunal was not constituted. It did not sit. Many members of the tax public, including the tax authorities, resorted to other ways, other means of settling tax disputes. So on resumption in November 2018, we had the mandate to ensure that we familiarize ourselves with stakeholders within our areas of jurisdiction. So this is our second engagement with the Southeast Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Power. But unlike the previous one that we had interactive session with only the members of SESIMA, this time around members of the public, government officials, Federal Inland Revenue Service representing the federal government, they all came. And so it's a much larger group that has engaged in this interaction. So, and like I told you, dispute resolution in the tax system, the federal government has taken it very important. And this is a manifestation of it, as you have seen now, in this day of 18th day of September 2019.
TAT on the move. It is obvious that the forum went down well with the audience. We want to thank you most sincerely for watching. Let's do this again next week. Same station, same day of the week, same time of the day.